Last year, on a Saturday night, shortly after 1 a.m., I heard someone creep up my staircase. I live in a 2-story home on the 2nd floor. I heard the cracking of the wood steps. I paused my TV show. I listened. I hear it some more. Then I hear a long pause and nothing. Then I hear my doorknob jiggling, and that's when I freak out. I know it's not the woman downstairs because she's gone for the night. I went straight to the door. I have one of those doors where it's half glass window because I live in a tiny town and my upstairs staircase is covered. So technically no one can see inside unless they're standing right at the door. And even at that, all they can see is part of my doorway into the bedroom and my hallway, nothing more. So I had the light on at the door inside, but the outside light was off. When I went to the door, I couldn't see out of it. I couldn't see who was there. When I showed myself at the doorknob stopped jiggling because I made my presence known and they could fully see me because my lights were on. I shut the inside lights off real quick as an attempt to see who was out there, but it took my eyes too long to adjust. And as I shut the lights off, I simultaneously hit the second lock on the door. And that's when the person on the other side of the door started banging on it. I couldn't see who it was, and quite honestly, once the banging started, I bolted. And so did they. So I tried to look out my windows to catch a glimpse of who it would be, but I couldn't see anything. The exit of the staircase is too close to the house for me to have a full view from the 2nd floor, which is a shame. So I called the cops and I filed a report, and all was good in the world. I equipped my home with wasp spray hidden in every corner. I did develop major anxiety over it though, like real bad major anxiety. I had never even been afraid to live alone before this. But I have worked through it for the most part and have gotten better since this was last year. I even got a camera that I have at my door that streams to an app on my phone. In the last couple of months, I have been having issues though. I park in the little lot across the street. The little lot belongs to the church I live next to. I'm allowed to park there. I keep finding the sides of my license plates completely bent outwards in a 90-degree angle every morning. I know because I put them in place every day so the plates are flat, and pretty much every day of the week I go outside to find my plates bent back. I know it's not the wind, and I know it doesn't happen while I'm driving because I check. My dad, however, has convinced me that it could be the car wash. I get my car washed at least once a week or two, and it's the kind where you just pay a machine and sit in your car. So I pushed the issue off. But then recently I came home to find 3 things on a little shelf I keep outside my door. 2 small crystal bowls and a little flower pot with a golden retriever on it. I thought, oh, my sister or grandma probably just left it for me. I texted them about it and they both said no, they didn't leave anything. They both live on my block, so I thought it would be probable for them to just do that. But both of them said it wasn't them. Then my next thought would be that maybe it's my mom. See, anytime my mom gets me stuff, she leaves it on her front sunroom, which she calls her porch. So, she will always text me a pic of what she got me and say, hey, it's here on the porch, get it when you can stop by next time. In the year and a half I've lived in this apartment, she has never left something on my porch. Also, my camera was dead. So I texted her about it and she didn't answer, which is like her. If it doesn't pertain to her, she doesn't answer. Also, I'm slightly confused about the golden retriever planter because everyone knows I'm a cat person, and that's what everyone knows what to get me. Tonight at 1:19 a.m., I was in the bedroom texting my sister when I heard banging on my front door again. The lady who lives downstairs is gone for the night again. This exact same thing happened a year ago too. a Saturday night, right after 1 a.m. All the lights in my apartment were on, so they knew I was home. If they wanted to break in, they could have. If they wanted my valuables, they have 60 hours out of the week every week this last year to do so. But no, whoever's messing with me wants to mess with me. I didn't know what to do. My phone was on the other side of the apartment, and I couldn't get to it without going past the door. So I told my sister through text messaging on my laptop, and she called the cops. They arrived, and I knew because I saw them searching the property with their flashlights, and I met them at the door. I filed a report, and I said, nope, I'm out of here, and I'm going to sleep at my sister's for the night. But this is seriously freaking me out. Someone is messing with me in a very serious way. They know I'm home. They know I'm up. They know the woman who lives downstairs is gone. They know the camera isn't charged. Coincidentally, these things keep happening when my camera isn't charged, which takes hours to do, and I'm so paranoid of leaving something charged while I'm asleep or not home. I don't have any enemies in this area. I don't really know anyone in this town, except for a coworker or two, my landlord, and my family, whom is new to the area as well. I don't have any ex-boyfriends trying to scare me. I haven't fought with anybody who is trying to get revenge on me. But I should mention that about 9 or 10 years ago, I did have a bit of a stalker situation. A 55-year-old man who lived adjacent to my job. He came in every day for a year. We never spoke directly or had a convo. He would leave me notes on my car. The first one he left me was a 5-page letter speaking about our compatibility with one another. He mentioned things in the letter I would speak about with other customers in regards to our compatibility. He even mentioned that he believes he could sexually please me, and he has what it takes, and it's the kind of special that most people don't have what it takes. He would leave me crystal antique hearts on my car. Anyways, I got a restraining order on him. He was no longer allowed to enter my job. He would occasionally stare at me through the cracks in his blinds, and that was about it. I moved out of state, and nothing ever happened of it. So, that could be a possibility too. What do y'all think? This happened to my friend Alex and I a couple months ago, around March of 2020. We both attended a school on California's Central Coast. One week in April, Alex invited me to join him on a drive a few cities up north where he was picking up a dog. Once we picked up the dog, very sweet boy, we decided to drive a bit further north to eat before heading back down south to go home. We ordered ahead, and once we arrived, we picked up our food because dine-in regulations already at place because of COVID. And we Googled a nearby park, and we head there to eat our food. We pull up to a pretty empty park except for like one other person. He parks on a curb in front of another car. This is important. We quickly walk a few feet to the bench and table near the curb, tie the dog to a public barbecue grill next to us, and begin to eat. We're almost immediately approached by a man intent on talking to us. He specifically asked about the dog. How old is he? Is he mean? Does he bite? Alex is busy answering the man's questions while trying to calm the dog down and eventually shift his attention only to the dog. The conversation ends, but the man stands there for a minute or two staring at us. But only I notice because Alex is still making sure the dog doesn't try to escape. We both, however, agree that the conversation was kind of weird. Anyway, the man walks away towards a shaded area next to the restrooms, under one of those large canopy things that a lot of parks in California have. I noticed that he sits with another man that I hadn't noticed previously, but I think nothing of it. At this point, the dog is still being troublesome, but I continue to eat. I begin to feel like we're being watched and looked over, and the two men are just staring at us, not talking at all. I think it's weird, and I'm starting to feel weirded out. Alex is still struggling with the dog, and when I look over again, I only see one of the men. The one who hadn't approached us. And when I look again, the one who did approach us is hiding behind a vending machine, poking his head out to look at us, and I catch him. Without hesitating, I tell Alex to grab his crap and to get in his car. He doesn't question me, and we gather all our stuff and put it in his car. As we do so, the man still sitting and watching us approaches us, and as soon as we get into the car, he begins to talk to us too, asking about the dog and his temperament. He asks if the dog is protective and if he bites. Alex barely answers him, and he starts the car. The man then walks past our car and gets into the car part behind us, where someone has been inside watching us the entire time from just a few feet away without either of us realizing. Over the next 10-15 minutes, we pull out of the parking lot, and the other car does too. Out of the same exit, we immediately fear that they might be following us, so Alec does a random series of turns until we end up in a neighborhood, and sure enough, the car's still behind us. They're tailgating at this point, and we're both freaked out. So we do a few more random turns until we enter a roundabout, in which Alex very poorly exits, crappy driver, and they lose us. We map another park for us to finish eating and arrive at the park with a good amount of people, only a few streets away. We park, sit on a bench, and keep eating. Maybe 5 minutes later, Alex notices the same car enter the parking lot, and they park near where we're eating. No one exits the car, and we just grab our crap and leave, this time down south. The car starts to pull out too, but luckily we enter the street first and get ahead until we hit the freeway that takes us home. Weird, creepy, potentially dangerous Central Coasters, let's not meet again.
I am a correctional officer at a huge prison. Where the prisoners sleep are called dorms. Each dorm can sleep up to 138 to 288 inmates at one time, all depending on the type of building. It was me and another officer on duty that night. Our dorm only had 12 inmates in it at the time. It was the 3:30 a.m. count. I went down inside Quad 1 and up to the upper level. All the inmates' rooms were on the second level, all in a row. This made it easier to count them. During count, the inmates' doors are closed and locked. The room light is on and the inmates must be dressed while sitting up on their bunks. I counted in each room and kept getting 13 inmates. I went back to the officer's station and my count was wrong. I then proceeded to recount and kept getting 13 inmates. My count was still wrong. At this time, I switched with my fellow officer so he could verify my count. He came back baffled because his count was 13 as well. We both knew we had to be wrong because the dorm count was only 12. We went by procedure and called the dorm next to us. They sent one of their officers to verify our count. The other dorm's officer went down and counted. When he came back, he stated that he counted 12 inmates. We turned in our count. After the other officer left, my dorm officer and I talked about the strange experience. We knew that the 13th inmate had to be a ghost. Just another instance we can add to the another haunting experience. My grandma passed away 1 month ago. My grandma's neighbor called my mom and told her that she keeps seeing this light on in the attic of my grandma's house. The next day, my stepdad went over to my grandma's to check the attic light. He came back and said that it was not on. Only 2 days later, she called my mom back and said the light was on again. My stepdad went back to my grandma's and decided to check out for faulty wiring. He could not find anything wrong. He even tested the light by turning it on and off. He only found that the lights worked fine. The neighbor called my mom for the third time saying that the light was back on. And my stepdad said that it's impossible because I took the light bulb out. Another experience is when my ex-boyfriend said he saw an old lady walk into the kitchen. I asked him what she was wearing. He said a robe or gown, and that it was white with little pink flowers. I got chills all over my body. I looked at him and said, "You just saw my grandma." But she passed away almost a year ago. My son was 3 years old when the weird experiences started happening. We just bought a new house. One day when he was walking around the house and playing, I was watching a show on the TV in the living room. I kept hearing something clinking very loudly. I just shrugged it off, thinking that my son was in the kitchen playing with a pot or pan. Then I heard a big swooshing sound. I got up to check on him, and in our dining room, we had a 70-gallon fish tank with some goldfish. When I got to my son, the entire dining room floor was flooded. I called my husband at work, freaking. I thought to myself, how in the world do I clean up this much water? I noticed my son had a Maglite flashlight in his hands. I promptly took it away. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "The man told me to do it." This made me feel very nervous and a little worrisome. I knew I've always felt someone was watching me. I questioned how a 3-year-old has the strength to break a big, thick glass fish tank. I could not compute the situation. The second creepy thing that happened was in front of my sister. My sister was babysitting my son one night. She said she found him staring at the back door. She told him to come and play, and at this moment he started waving by and back at the door. She said this really creeped her out. She asked him, "What are you waving at?" He replied, "The man." My sister said that she started asking more questions. She asked, was he a big man like Daddy, or a boy like Logan? He said a boy like Logan. She asked him, where's the boy? He pointed up the night sky area. She told my son to say goodbye. My son looked up and said, "You can't come in. I have to go. Bye." He then waved and ran into the room to play. When I picked up my son, my sister told me all that had happened. I told her, "See, I told you something weird was going on." The third instance that happened was, he would look up and point at the corner of the ceiling, saying he saw a black thing up there. My husband and I had enough with the visitor tormenting my little boy. We sat at the end of my son's bed, in his bedroom, and prayed. We did a prayer for protection. I talked to the entity out loud, saying, "You're not welcome here. You had died, and it's time to go into the light. Do not bother us or my son ever again." A couple minutes after that, I felt a weight lifted off our house. It worked, and the spirit has not bothered my son since.
I want to give a special shout out to GenSen. He does amazing videos. It is an honor to have you. Please go like and subscribe to my channel. Remember, it's scary out there.